Good afternoon and a warm welcome to everyone to this very important webinar today, which is on called Enablers. This is from our Diversity and Inclusion uh, Committee of the Bombay Chamber. First of all, I would like to thank everyone here, all our panelists, for taking time out today to be with us. Also, all the participants who have joined us. I would especially like to thank our sponsors, BASF and Tata Power, without whom this wouldn't have been possible. Bombay Chamber, among its five pillars, have decided that diversity and inclusion is one of the most important aspects, and we practice this very seriously at the Chamber. So, without wasting much time, I would like to invite our President, Anjali Bansal, on stage to give the welcome address. Anjali?
Good afternoon and namaste everyone. I hope you can hear me. I'm delighted to welcome you all to the Bombay Chamber Conclave on Diversity and Inclusion, aptly named Enablers of Change. I would like to start with, we have come a long way. Women are now driving change and enabling economic growth, not just worldwide, but in India as well. Even so, according to McKinsey, India can add up to 770 billion, more than 18% to its GDP by 2025 in a very short time by ensuring equal opportunities for women. The increasing presence of women in Indian business and as entrepreneurs has led to change in the demographic characteristics of economic growth in the country. Women owned and driven enterprises are playing a prominent role in society, inspiring others and generating more employment opportunities. Achieving gender equality and empowering all women and girls is critically important and has been spotlighted as a sustainable development goal by the United Nations. As one of my heroes has said quite famously, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and I quote her: women should be everywhere decisions are being made. While there is an increase in the number of women in boardrooms, we have seen a decrease in the labor force participation rate amongst women. We believe that women should be in more roles that are critically important to organizations in executive teams as well. Better infrastructure, more enlightened HR policies should be adopted to create a genuinely inclusive workplace. We are happy to bring three very interesting discussion panels today. First one on women and financial literacy. Financial literacy and women's empowerment go hand in hand. Increasing financial literacy can help women achieve life and career goals more effectively. Financial independence also serves as a cushion during unforeseen circumstances. Second one is on women and healthcare. Um, our first panel, Women and Financial Literacy, will be moderated by our DNI committee chair, Meenakshi Priyam, who is the CHRO of UDAN. Women and Healthcare is the next panel, where we know that in India, women face heavy gender biases and are subsequently more likely to experience disadvantages in their life, especially when it comes to healthcare. Malnutrition, lack of basic sanitation, and treatment for diseases all contribute to the dearth of healthcare resources available to women. Healthcare spending on women is also particularly low in India. This panel will be led by Swati Kulkarni, the founder of ELDA. Our final panel will be on women and entrepreneurship. There is a lot that you will find that is discussed during these panels, all power packed, terrific speakers. I know I'm looking forward to hearing from all of them. I'm sure you are as well. Please do not hesitate, of course, to keep posting your questions and comments in the chat box or the Q&A box. The Bombay Chamber team will be taking note of all of these and sending them on to the panels as well. On that note, welcome once again, and I'm excited to kick this off. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anjali.
Thank you, Anjali ma'am, for those very opening session words. As you rightly said, we have a power-packed knowledge session day ahead of us. And without much delay, I would like to introduce our first panel, which is on women and financial literacy. Introducing the panel, we have our moderator, who is Meenakshi Priyam, the chairperson for Diversity and Inclusion Committee, Bombay Chamber, and CHRO, Oda. Welcome, Meenakshi ma'am. We also have with us Jayashree Vyas, who is the MD, Shri Mahila Seva Sahakari Bank. We have Ananya Tripathi, the CEO for White Hat Junior Baiju. Mr. Praveen Jadhav, founder and CEO, Race Financial Services. And Richa Roy, partner, Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas. Over to you, Meenakshi, for this session. And as Anjali ma'am has mentioned before, audience, please feel free to type in your questions in the Q&A box, which is on the right of your screens. And we will take a few questions after the session is over. Over to you, ma'am, Meenakshi.
Apologies. Can you guys hear me now? A thumbs up would be great. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Super. Great. So, no, fantastic to be here on this panel. Great to be moderating this panel consisting of some great names from the industry, very diverse panel from different segments. As you can see, that's been one of our ambitions to sort of bring in really diverse perspective to you on each topic. I will dive straight in because the panel has been introduced. Not it is quite common sense to sort of think through that. Unless you not just encourage participation of women in workforce, but also encourage them to look after their financial well-being for present and for future. Women who sort of anchor families together. We are as a country haven't sort of really optimized our contributions as a country, nation, and economic growth. So if I just were to reflect on this and reflect on a question on and maybe Jayashree, Ben, I'll come to you with this question on, as you see, we have spent a few decades now in this segment on inclusion of women and women's participation in workforce, right from the grassroots level. In your role, as you have seen women come into workforce and participate over the last few years, how much do you see financial literacy is playing a role? Do you see them more aware in how to manage their own finances? What does it mean for their future financial well-being? And your comments on participation in general at grassroots level.
Yes, they are all informal sector women workers and they are economically very active. Initially, the reason why they started as their own bank was that initially there was no access to bank for them or finance for them. So they were borrowing from money lenders and they were into debts. So after that, when the bank was started, those women started ensuring that they can earn more and they can save also. But what we saw earlier was that of course, because they were so much used to deal with only loan credit, they were using only credit and they were not using other kinds of products like saving was there, they were saving, but it was only for few days and then they will withdraw. So that was, and insurance, they had never heard about it. Pension, oh, it was like that they have never seen their mothers also doing it, and they had never seen their neighbors also were doing it. So they were an informal sector, but that means they were really really very worried about what will happen when, and they had to work till they die, I mean to leave, I would say. So this was the condition. But during this time, what happened was there was one kind of a impact came from Harvard School, and they told us that yes, they are using. I mean, they having their assets, they are increasing their income, but they are still going back to money lenders. And that led us thought about this, that why this is happening. And we started thinking about that, how can we first of all understand their financial behavior. And when we started doing that, we realized that their financial behavior was completely different than ours. First thing was that aaj kamaya aaj khaya. So daily they will daily eat, and they were very happy that that means they were not thinking about future. The first thing that we wanted to help them is to that how can you start planning. And we started in I will not go in details about that, but the first thing was the planning in financial literacy. The second thing we also saw was, even if they have they have a bank, when they want some money more, they would go back to money lenders. So this was something we also didn't want. So that was a second behavior. The third behavior is that for any kind of life cycle need, whether it was they wanted to have some kind of working capital, or there was a marriage in the family, or somebody sick, whatever was that, they were not using any other product, they were just using loan. So this was also, and the fourth thing was they were only dealing with money or cash. They were not dealing with finance. That was, and that is the how we started our financial literacy program. It is now 20 years. uh, so I will not go much in detail. I don't know how much time I have, but the thing
No,
was
you
that
have time now.
what we started was, okay, you tell me when I should close. So the first thing what we realized is, of course, planning was definitely very important, and we had some films. We made some films. We took a tool as life cycle needs. So instead of just thinking about today, think about tomorrow. To think about future. So that was the first thing which was there, and lots of films helped them in it. But the second thing was saving. Saving they were doing, as I said, they were not saving for any purpose. They were just saving. They were just withdrawing and depositing and withdrawing. So we gave the concept of power of compounding. So linking with planning, of course, but the power of compounding, and that has helped so much. Now women have 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, 5 lakhs fixed deposit, and recurring account. So this was the second concept. The third concept was the most difficult concept: insurance. Because first time when we did it, and we did it with LIC, and all women, but it was a small amount, but all women didn't die definitely at the end of the year, and they came back to us and said, give us our money back. So what is the premium? Concept of premium, nothing was. So that also we started doing it, and now they are also into the insurance, and government is also giving this. The fourth and the last thing was, of course, the old age security. Old age. I mean, whenever we ask them that, why we had a pension, we had the pension which was done to mutual fund. That is, we did it through that. It was very difficult because, of course, they were using saving. They understood interest, but they didn't understand NAV. What is NAV? So that was also very difficult. But that also, we when we show them that there was that they had invested, or they had invested 5,000, and when NAV was increasing, it became 7,000, and then they said, okay, I will not contribute only 100, I will contribute 500. That's what they learned, and now they are used to it. So that was also that came.
That's
But but the pension was the most difficult thing, I would say, because whenever we say that oh, there is a pension and a good product and everything, but they will say, who knows, I will be alive for 60 years. So 60 years. So that was even today, that product will only, it is the, I would say, the NAV which is helping us, and it is the neighbors who are also seeing this. So that is what is happening. But the biggest thing which we also had was fungibility of money. And this is something which we gave some kind of colors, that if it is a debt, it is a red color, and you should not spend any consumption unit money from this. If it is yellow, then okay, maybe it is your interest, you have earned interest, so you can do it. But if it is your own money, it's green, so then you can use it. So to certain extent they have started understanding these also. So but I would say ultimately what is happening is that there are many old women also. So this old women, when they were coming to our literacy classes, they were saying that now we are old, but can I bring my daughter-in-law with me? Can I bring my daughter with me? So then that is definitely helped, and the younger girls also have started working on this. So this
That's
literacy
great.
definitely is helping. Now of course we have a digital literacy also, and some of the women have come to a stage where they're entrepreneurs. I'm not saying big entrepreneurs, small entrepreneurs, and we are also doing this kind of training for them also. But they
That's great,
understand
Jeshri
it.
Ben.
Yeah, this is what I
Yeah.
would say.
No, that's great, Jeshri Ben, and I'll possibly come back again to you later in terms of just understanding the dramatic shift that you're seeing. But it's fascinating to hear that the story that you just narrated around building literacy, which is enabling better financial inclusion and empowerment at the grassroots level. We understand that, as we look at the entire ecosystem of women who are participating in workforce or not participating in workforce, but still a very active part of homemaking, right? They often shy away still from financial planning thinking. They often shy away from decision making around some of it. Now, keeping that in view, I wanted to get you in, PJ. As somebody who sort of has launched and is working on a financial platform for investment and advisory, and I know that you have been leading some bit of research on behavior for women in terms of investments. What is your reflection on what's happening on not the grassroots level, but the other segments that is your customer segment today and target segment?
Thanks, Meenakshi, and thanks to Bombay Chamber for having me. I think Jayashree ma'am had set a good context in terms of how things have changed over different financial products. Because I think one part is talking about financial literacy. I think the thing that Jayashree ma'am mentioned is about how products are being adopted, because that's the eventual result of financial learning that we all are talking about today. I think Meenakshi, what I'll try to do is connect two dots that I understand very well. Okay, one is the startup
Yeah.
space, and is investing platform that we are building. So right now, if you look at last 2 years, okay, there's sudden boom in conversations that we have around startups, technology-led startups, founders, small teams getting together, making products, okay, and trying to scale them up. And obviously, it has opened a new industry altogether that's very very popular amongst the new generation. Okay, what people don't realize, this entire movement started around 15 years back. I remember my first job. I mean, I got into Rediff.com, which was then India's largest portal. Okay, and at that point of time, no one knew this word startup. Okay, but then in this last 15 years, okay, we have seen almost two cycles of founders starting companies, okay, scaling, selling them, okay, getting started once again, and again funding the next generation of founders. I think that's happening on startup ecosystem, and this is exactly what is going to happen now. Okay, because now is the time where we are seeing a lot of women are making a mark in every part of the industry, be it, and not just industry, even politics, sports, entertainment, literature, everything. Okay, but again, I just want to go back and relate. And this is a generational change, right? We have a team over here which recently conducted a good research in terms of what stops people from investing, or what stops people from being even interested in finance. And this, I'm not talking about grassroots level. This, I'm talking about our audience, which is fairly from metros and cities like Bombay, Pune, tier one, tier two cities. Okay, and we were surprised that the answers that we got from this audience, even now, okay, is things like lack of independence. Okay, and it has two flavors. One part is people think they don't have independence, and people also think, and women also think, okay, they are not allowed to have independence to do their financial decisions altogether. Okay, obviously, few of things like culture, okay, lack of financial or women centric financial schemes, okay, which is in fact not the thing. So it's all comes to the fact that no awareness of things, okay, which are in the market and still not understood or not well informed about. Okay, so that's a big milestone to be crossed for almost everyone. What we did as a result of this, okay, was, and in fact, this entire campaign was led by a woman in our team, okay, and right from conceptualization to execution and everything that happened, okay, Basically, what we did is, we slashed all prices on our financial platform, which is done by 50% for women investors. Okay, and it is not very. It's just probably 30 days that we have done this. Okay, but I can tell you, within the last 30 days, our participation of women investors has been up 33%. Okay, just in last 30 to 45 days. I think that's the impact that we have done. Okay, in our small journey in this endeavor. But obviously, this is just a start, and I'm sure this panel and a lot of women folks, okay, who are today making a dent, they will be inspiration for the next generation of people to come over and start adopting financial products. Okay, I can just share some of the data and insights that we definitely know is, for example, mutual fund industry. Okay, the contribution of women investors, the AUM, to the entire industry is still 12%. It's still very very less if you look at it. Okay, or even uh, and these are things which are proven, right? I think I think the entire microfinance industry was started because of women lending that happened to micro entrepreneurs, which was led by women. So there's a lot of data points that have suggested that women are better at managing money, managing finances. I think just we are just all waiting for a tipping point where all of this just explodes to the next stage. Okay, and all the efforts that are being taken now, okay, and will be taken in the next few years. Okay, they all help it to reach us to a mass.
No, indeed, PJ. And I think hopefully panels like this and conversations like this will keep moving the agenda forward. You brought in some fascinating points on behaviors of women and investments, but also around some data and statistics on how much they are today driving decision making on investment portfolios like mutual funds. Now, the very fascinating point that you made is that we are talking about women in metros and possibly women who are earning and are participating in workforce, still not just being independent but feeling whether they have a right to be independent and can they be independent. I think that's a fascinating point, and I think definitely needs a lot of movement in how a traditional role of a woman is seen, and how are they seen in terms of managing financial well-being for themselves and the family. I wanted to come into you, Richa, right? You have a massive interest in work in public policy, and some of the thinking that could shape something like this. What are your thoughts around what you have seen and where you've seen this agenda going?
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Meenakshi, and thank you, Bombay Chamber, and thank you, Anjali, for your invitation and your leadership of the forum. Lovely hearing everyone's remarks. It's such an honor to be on the same panel as Jashi Ben, who's such a doyen. And Meenakshi, I know when we were speaking prior to this panel, I remember discussing with you the fact that this isn't just about inclusion of women, and I think that's deeply important. It's about participation for me. It's about not just participation, but meaningful participation in the economy as well as in the financial system. So, I think the entire financial system has a lot to gain by the meaningful participation of women as depositors, as investors, as policyholders, as pension holders, as consumers of these products, as creators of these products, as regulators of these products. And I think hopefully we're sort of at the start of a really exciting journey because as we've also discussed, as you alluded to, there are very real mainstream economic benefits to this. There is IMF data that says that women participating in the economy and in the financial system may have even more gains than previously thought because of things like productivity gains, etc. And I think in the context of kind of post-COVID recovery, this is almost an important recovery tool. I just wanted to focus my remarks on sort of two or three policy levers, legal and regulatory changes that can sort of enable better financial literacy, and through that sort of better participation of women in the economy and in the financial sector. And I think the first one really is on financial literacy. And on this, I just wanted to make a point that there is OECD data and other data from India, from places like BARA, which shows that financial literacy is highly gendered. And I think the grassroots experiences that Jashi Ben narrated, and also what Praveen said, seems to bear that out. And this is a combination of kind of a social norm issue as well as an access issue. So, there is data to show that even when women are better at math and at financial subjects, they tend to be more underconfident about it. So that's one. And here I think that there is a lot that can be done in terms of, uh, regulators like SEBI and RBI. The SEBI has something called an Investor Protection and Education Fund, the purposes of which include increasing financial awareness and education. And RBI has actually been doing a great job involving sort of the youth of the country. They've been kind of spreading the message on financial frauds, etc. But I would actually urge them to also do sort of very directed financial literacy and awareness and education programs for women and for women across segments. So, at the grassroots level, maybe they can join forces with something like a SEVA and with Jayashree Ben's team. And even at other segments, as Praveen says, at the middle class, at the sort of upper middle class level, I think that there is a lot to be done. They could tie up with folks like White Hat Junior and Baiju to kind of create programs that can get very wide dissemination, and so forth. And this can also happen through things like regulatory sandboxes and innovation hubs where women can learn by doing, where they can simulate things like, investing in the markets or investing in mutual funds, understand NAV, understand how pensions work, what the discounting of money really is, and so forth. So I think that was one recommendation that I wanted to make through this forum to the regulators. The second point that I think is important is on consumer protection, really. And while this is sort of gender agnostic in that sense, it's still deeply critical. I think if there is a strong consumer protection framework for financial services, that will invariably encourage both men and women to participate in the formal financial system. Um, and it will also have sort of the collateral benefit of improving systemic risk issues. The financial crisis shows that a lot of financial crises have their roots in a consumer protection issue, and so if we strengthen consumer protection, and particularly for women, um, I think that could have a massive positive contagion effect. Last year's budget had a proposal for a financial redress authority and for a charter of consumer rights for all financial consumers. I think that is an idea whose time has come, and I think I look forward to that coming to fruition. And another related point on this actually is really on privacy. And this is particularly important for women as they manage their money. I think, that will actually have a very positive impact on their financial independence to know that their financial transactions are private and are not being shared with, other family members, etc. And finally, I just wanted to make a point about sort of the design of products and services, financial products and services, as well as of regulation, and of keeping sort of diverse consumers, women who may be earning, women who may be in informal sector, including Jayashree Ben's customers and others, to keep them at the center when products and services are being designed, and when regulations are being designed, and when sort of large policy interventions are being designed. So, for instance, we're going to have a digital rupee soon, and a CBDC, if it's well designed, could actually, be sort of a real catalyst for meaningful participation for women. By the same token, on the flip side, there is, a Women's World Banking report that showed that bias in algorithms and in AI actually contributes to the exclusion of women from credit. So I think this is something that the market needs to fix, that technology needs to fix, but also regulators, where necessary, need to step in and sort of fix that. So with that, I'll hand it back to you, Meenakshi. I hope it's become
No, I think great points and very very holistic, diverse 360 view of it, right? From a perspective of policy making to environment where women can simulate and play and build their financial muscle to broad mass awareness to really privacy and touching on how can we design products which doesn't have inherent bias. I think there's something for many people to take away. I'm hoping PJ and Ananya, all of you are listening very carefully, as is Jayashree Ben. as you design products and look at products for your customers and consumers. Now, with that, I will come to you, Ananya. Right? I think you have a fascinating experience set with you. From working with a global consulting firm to being with KKR and now sort of joining Byju's and just about joining Byju's as CEO for White Hat Junior. What's been your? Let's move to your personal story. What has been your personal story of how you have looked at this and how you have been groomed at it to be building a career which actually led to investments and investment advisory and now a role that sort of will design and shape the company.
Yeah, no, thanks so much, Meenakshi, and thank you, Jayashree, Richa. Very insightful thoughts and comments. And, I think just one reflection as I was hearing you is if I go back in my journey and where I started, I remember when I joined consulting, I was at McKinsey. I thought neither did I have the time or the inclination to manage my finances. And, I remember I used to just tell my husband that, you're doing all the investments and I'm not going to get involved. So, even personally, as one would expect, a woman who understands finance is in the profession of sometimes even advising others on it. In the early years of my career, I was completely financially illiterate, right? And if I reflect back on what changed and where did I start to manage it more actively, was just, it's a mindset switch where you say that, okay, I'm going to start making the investments, and then it is a positive reinforcing loop, right? Today I'm fortunate to have done a bunch of angel investments, which have been, which are the most riskiest type, and they have actually given me very good returns. And so the ability to be able to see returns from all sorts of financial instruments, from equity to mutual funds to very risky ones like angel investments, has just made me realize that it's frankly not rocket science, right? And women who are doing so many other things can easily handle this. So I think for me, the mindset barrier breaking, and Richa, you were also talking about the awareness. Jayashree, you're talking about just the focus on it. I think is very important, and we all need to do what we can. At White Hat in a different way, right? Across many countries, girls in STEM is not as common, just like girls in financial services. And, we are always debating about how do we create coding, content, and curriculum which doesn't leave women out, right? Like simple things like the games that you can design is, you don't always have to have, men, guys with guns and things. And, now, with our partnership and that Baiju has with Tinker, there are Barbie coding games, right? There are cupcake coding games. And I think that is, the effort down which we are, which is how products need to be designed to appeal to all gender. And I think in financial services, that is even more true. And it's great that a lot of effort is being made in that direction.
So, Ananya, great point, right? Just a quick one. What made you switch the mindset? What was that? What was the trigger? What was the
Yeah,
catalyst?
I guess in my case, it was, one of my, when I was in consulting, I was serving a life insurance company, and some of the most successful agents were women, and they were advising other people, including men, on life insurance, or sometimes they'd also diversified into other funds, right? And I just think seeing so many successful women who are managing other people's money makes you think, saying, okay, why have I just shut off that part of my in a way development and learning, and said this is something I don't have time for, or this is something I'm not going to do.
No, I think that's a great insight there, and great insights also on building products across with very thoughtful intent, which are gender neutral and encourages all. So I'll come into to you, PJ. Right, I think you are an ally. The diverse person right now on our panel, right? So just to understand your perspective in terms of how. how have you sort of played it out in your own personal life? What's your story? What happens at home?
The best decision is basically get out of the way. I think that's the way most of the good decisions happen. Okay, I just know while Anandya was mentioning the journey that they're doing for kids. Okay, I just remember from the point that she was making the best decision makers in the insurance are basically influencing the world. The best agents are basically women. I think the one new trend, okay, that we have been observing, and I just recall that we also acquired a company called Valuationary, which runs a very popular financial channel on Instagram. But that set aside, okay, there is so much learning today that's happening in financial influencers on Instagram, and you wouldn't believe what we think is around 70 to 80% of influencers today are women. Okay, so they are not just creating content, but obviously they're doing a large responsibility of making sure they are simplifying things like investment, insurance, lending, cars, and so many different products today. In a way that probably people at our stage in career, okay, can't explain. Okay, because we all go through this phase there. We look at things in a particular way, but the new generation finds it difficult to connect. But it's amazing that some of the jobs that some of our team as well, or generally even financial influencers, okay, that we keep on interacting, they are able to simplify things in a way and in a matter the current generation understands. Okay, and these all efforts, okay, are getting into today and consumed at a massive level. Earlier to do and I mean what Richa was referring to is an investor education program. Okay, to get 100 people in a small town and get people to understand what a mutual fund means. You would look at videos of some of these popular folks. Okay, it reaches to an audience about a million users, million views, a million users in just few hours. Okay, I think that is the impact that technology is driving. Okay, and these new mediums of learning are coming up. Okay, which we want to all adopt to.
Yeah, no, indeed, indeed. So Richa, coming to you, after listening into to your sort of reflections across in 360, how have you imbibed it as a working woman? What's your story around financial well-being and how you manage it or don't manage it, and what's your barrier to break?
I mean, I was really hoping you don't ask me that question, to be honest, because I think I can manage my money a lot better than I do. But I think from what Ananya said as well, I think what's really important is to not abdicate that responsibility and that sort of that side of you. I think it's important to take ownership of it. Whether it's good decisions or bad decisions, whether it's your money earning 2% in savings bank account, which may or may not be the case with me, or leaving it in sort of an FD or investing it well or investing for the future, etc. I think it's most important to take ownership of it, and to take decisions around it, and to take a kind of long view. I think one thing that I've found is that once you start managing your money, a lot of people tend to have sort of a very short term view in terms of, oh, the market fell today and what happened to my savings and what happened to my investments. I think it's important to take a long view on this. I think that's one. That's two, rather. And I think the third thing really is to educate yourself as much as you can. And I think there are some excellent resources available. I think Praveen alluded to a few. There are some great sort of financial planners available, etc. And in fact, I remember in the 90s when sort of cable television became big and business channels became big, and the stock market became reported so regularly, housewives started investing their household savings in the market for the first time and opened up an entirely new set of investors. And I think there is an equivalent of that happening with a lot of the channels and sort of social media networks that have come in now. So I think there's absolutely no dearth of well, there are a lot of resources. Let's say I think they can be sort of improved even further. They can be deepened even further, but they do exist. So I think that's the third. So I think I'm at the education phase at the moment, and I think I can do a lot better with sort of better management and investment of my kind of personal money. But it's something that I take full ownership for. That's all I'll say.
No, that's such a thank you so much for your candid share. Right, I think it's a lot of our audience would sort of relate to where you are and the thinking process. Right, I think coming to you, Jayashree, when you have such decades of experience and you've worked in multitude. One, you work in this entire space of financial literacy, financial inclusion. Second, you are a woman leader managing the organization that you're managing. What would be your two pearls of wisdom, if I can say so, to the audience listening on this entire financial well-being and literacy? What would you tell them and encourage them to do starting today?
The first thing is discipline, which I never had it, to be very frank with you. So when I started I'm a chartered accountant, and then I initially went into Central Bank of India. So I was I was actually spending lots of money. I learned to save money when I came to Seva Bank, because I saw that these women, they were meeting with their families, but they were really managing well. I mean, uh, so you can manage, with small amount of money. Also, that was something which I learned. The second thing was also the is that when you don't have money, how difficult life is. That also I saw in their life. So that then I realized money is so important. We just, when we have money, we just, at least I was doing like that. So this is something, two things which I have learned, and both the things I have learned from this women.
What a great sort of ending to this panel. No, I think what we would do is that I would just pause and see if there are questions coming in. I don't see it on the Q&A tab from the audience. We have a few. We have actually a couple of minutes, really. But Stina, would you steer us? I can't see any questions, but if you have them. I think while they come in backstage and front stage mechanics of Zandal, I just wanted to sort of do a bit of a quick reflection of what we heard in the panel so far, right? So I think we started sort of what we've heard so far is that there's very active movement, especially in the last 15, 20 years, around bringing in financial literacy. I think, Jayashree, when you alluded to that and you spoke about the active work that your organization is doing and you are leading, and the changes that you're seeing, right, from storytelling to education at grassroots level to now the mothers and the mother-in-laws bringing in their next generation in to bring in that literacy. I think it's really, really great to hear. I think we have work to do as far as future planning is concerned, because pension seems to be still a place where we have way to go and distance to go. I think from there on, PJ, you sort of shared great insights on in the metros and in the middle class and even in the upper middle class, what the women behavior is, not just from in terms of thinking whether they can plan independently, but whether they have the authority to plan and be financially independent. I think that was a massively big insight, and clearly we have some barriers to break as we are grooming our young girls into the next levels life and phases and stages, and all of us have a responsibility towards that. But you also spoke about the different work that your organization PAN is doing, and the way you are encouraging with better sort of fees for women. I think it's great. I just hope it's women who are doing and managing those investments and not men behind those women, PJ. but I'm sure
We find that
more
more.
to come there, I think.
Yeah, we see that
So
happening at that time. We just close that account. It's plain simple.
okay, no, that's great that you have that built in. I think that's fantastic. And Richa, we heard a great deal from you, right? From having the right AI and algorithms built into privacy to mass level reach out for financial literacy and more in terms of public policy making. And some bit of steps, but I think there's still the tipping point is far away. I think this is what I heard all of you speak. And Ananya, thank you for starting the sharing of your own personal story and mindset shift. And often it's just about mindset. It's not about capability. It's not about knowledge. It's not about ability or having options. It's just about the mindset and the conversations we women have with ourselves, right? And I think um, women sort of take so much of care to manage various fronts of our life. This, for some reason, and maybe it's the traditional roles that we have seen across. It seems like a barrier to break for a lot of us, and a lot of personal stories around how we ourselves, as this panel, are breaking some of that barrier and getting to a place of managing financial well-being better. Thank you so much. I think for sharing everything that you shared. We are on time actually for the next panel to come in. Yeah, big applause for your candid sharing and authentic sharing. I'm sure it has made a difference to a lot of our audience who's listening into us. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for having us. And really enjoyed hearing everyone's remarks.
Thanks.
From mindset barrier switch to financial discipline. A lot of insights in that wonderful panel. Thank you, Meenakshi ma'am, and all our panelists for the wonderful discussion that we have had. Now we have a very interesting fireside chat awaiting us. She is just 24-year old, but as a pilot, she has evacuated nearly 800 Indian students under Operation Ganga amid the ongoing Ukraine-Russia conflict. So meet Mahashweta Chakraborty from Kolkata in conversation with Anjali Bansal and Meenakshi Priya.
Good evening, everyone. I have the absolute honor, privilege, and pleasure of welcoming Mahashweta Chakrabarti to the chamber on this day. And I thank Mahashweta on behalf of the chamber, the managing committee, all our members, for taking the time to talk to us about her experiences. As we have read and heard about her journey and her tremendous service to the country, we thank her. On behalf of the country, we thank her, and such an inspiration to all young people everywhere. Let me now invite Meenakshi Priyam, chair of our D&I committee, to please enter into a conversation with Mahashweta. Thank you, and Meenakshi, over to you.
Thank you so much, Anjali. So once again, great to have you with us, Mahashweta. I think it's really inspiring to see stories like yours. So without really spending more time, I wanted to just dig deeper into your story and your wisdom. So if you could start with asking you a question on what inspired you to become a pilot and take on this career? Not a very popular choice amongst women, and specifically, a few years back. So if you could just tell us a little bit about it.
Firstly, I would like to thank every one of you for giving me this honor. It's a big privilege to sit and witness and share the presence, a screen in this case, with all of you. Coming to your question, ma'am, there was a poem which I had read in class 10. It was by Robert Frost, named The Road Not Taken. And if I have to quote a line from that poem today, that would be, thank God I chose the road less traveled by. Maybe that's the reason today I'm sitting in front of you and we are having this lovely chat. Honestly, ma'am, when I was young, I had this thing of joining Air Force, to being of a part of the service that are brave heroes. In 2015, I completed my plus two. There was no scope, or it was not seen that women could be accepted as pilots and serve as an air force. It's a big name. So I had this dream. I have to spread my wings at whatever cost it may take me, and I did that. The support that I have got from my family, my friends, everyone, it has been immense. It has been immense because the profession that I have chosen, that's actually called a man's job, a man's world, and entering into it, removing all these cliche ideas that women can be best kept at home or do something which can be much more maternal job. That was something which I had to break, and I think it was just an attempt, and I just tried doing my best to it.
Well, that's such a lovely story. It's also coincidentally one of my most favorite poems, right? And I'm sure you have miles to go before you sleep. as the poet says in the poem. Now coming into this the Operation Ganga, right? And as this was happening, obviously the nation was watching with a lot of anxiety as to what would happen and how would these young adults and students come back. How is it that what went through your mind, and as this opportunity came by your way, tell me a little bit about what was going through your mind. What were some of the conversations you were in, and what are some of the insights that you've learned and taken away from it?
So, ma'am, honestly, if I have to give you a small brief of my contribution to this huge ocean of service that has been done, I was a part of it in the very early weeks of March, and I had got a very impromptu call from my airlines, and they were like, "You don't have much time. We can't tell you exactly what is going to be your schedule. Just pack your bags. You have 1 hour to get ready, and you need to just come over to Delhi. Further on, we will let you know." Of course, we as pilots, we are trained to be always ready. I myself call my job life in a suitcase. So everything is already packed, and I was like, all right, fine. But even at that point of time, I had not even a little clue that I was a part of this mission. Anyways, further going to Delhi, I get to understand or whatever our operational details were there, not getting into it. So I was informed, and I was like, you need to go. The call came at such a point of time where I didn't get much time to inform my family. And because I was thinking it must be some regular job and I'd be just back home, maybe in a day or two max. So, anyways, I had told my family about it, and my family, in the first expression, they were like, "What? Are you joking?" So, it's not a very good joke to do because, like every parents, they also had that thing when everybody wanted to come back home. My daughter was going there. It was something which was a little difficult for them also to digest, but not letting that fear reach me. They were like, all right, fine, just it's a normal duty which you are supposed to do. Please do justice to it. After going there, there were kind of a lot of difficulties that and challenges we faced because it was a different environment altogether. The very idea behind it was not something of a happy memory. It was war stricken people, our own brothers and sister who were stuck up there, who were getting a lot of difficulties, and we had to just bring them back home. So without thinking much, without even worrying about our own sleep cycle, our duty period, which was stretching up to at times 15, 16 hours and maybe late, about any proper food, any proper way of rest, refreshment, rest. We were like, all right, let's go and first witness them. The very first interactions of mine with a group of people that happened was, we were as normal as all flights. It must be, it's already there on social media. We tried to welcome them, and the first reaction that I got while I am trying to approach a particular student was, the person stepped back. So it was as if he was still in a fear that I might harm him. So that was the first setback I think I got of what fear can actually look like. And so sitting with them with a very brief time that we had got between the other operational work was going on, we started talking with them to started to make them feel comfortable. And uh, the worst part is like they're not even drinking water. They are still at a mindset that maybe their life is still at a risk, maybe even at such a safe zone where they are, their life can be threatened. Maybe somebody can still come and kill them. And they were like explaining us that it's been 2 to 3 days that they are walking on snow. The temperature are sub-zero degrees Celsius. There are soldiers all around. If you just leave your clan, try to leave the queue, you would have got beaten up, maybe killed, without even asking any questions. So, and there is no food, there was no water. They have seen people getting murdered, they have seen bombings and whatnot. Still, I would say, oh, had I been in their place, I might have come under a tank. the very second day. I know that very well. But these guys, the amount of struggle that they had done, the amount of struggle they faced, I think, ma'am, I did a duty. It was something I did actually nothing. I just plain simple transported them from place A to B. They are heroes, I think. And they must be 18, a group of 18 to 24. This must be the age range, most of them. The amount of inspiration they have taught me, that I was just sharing it with ma'am, is just stop cribbing in life. There are things we crib about, very small, minute, insignificant things. The road is having potholes. Why is the road having potholes? Where is my money going? What am I doing? What am I not doing? This person is so bad, that person is good. These are such certain things which are so insignificant. When you get challenged about whether you're going to be alive the next moment or not, and we just miss things out. So I think that is what I grew up. I literally, this experience made me grow up and be more matured. So start thinking in a very big picture minded way, in a broad minded way. And I think that is what I have gained.
Well, that's such a beautiful share. That's such an inspiring share. Thank you so much. Um, Not just for the insights and your humility in terms of how much you learned, and I'm sure you did, as you saw the students sort of brace the war zone area and come back home, but also with your for your grit and the courage to be taking this on and going to on this call of duty. I think it's really fantastic. And so tell me now from here on. I think as you see your own ambitions and further skies that you want to fly, and I hear you want to be a pilot on a Dreamliner. What's in store? What are you looking for as you look at future?
I just, I always had, as I shared with you, you know, that I wanted to do something for my nation. And when I was a kid, I would call myself a kid literally, because that time I had that only if you join the service, okay, only if you wear that uniform that is given by the government, only then you can be a part of the duty, as you call it. But certain things like even Vande Bharat or Operation Ganga, it made me realize that you don't really need a proper batch or a proper handed over responsibility to define that you are being of service. You can be a service in your own ways. And I think I want to continue doing that. Even by God forbid, I just hope these two things like the COVID plus this such a war situation never repeats. As a human being, I would not want it. But if ever my need is there, a person like I'm peck of a dust, but still if that requirement is there, I'm going to jump for it. I'm going to give it my 100%, and that's what I want to do. And but yes, of course, it's my love, it's my personal wish to fly that big bird, and it's a dream, and I want to work hard for it. And one day I want to make everyone proud that yes, I just need your determination and hard work. Is just that manifestation, I would say, that yes, I can do it. That's all that you need. Even that shimmer of hope can, I think, carry me towards the cockpit of the Dreamliner. That's my hope.
That's so amazing. That's really amazing. I think the theme and our conclave is called Enablers of Change, and I don't think we could have had a better story here, right? I think few nuggets that you shared. I think don't go by the gender stereotype, even if you're told that this is a man's job and a man's world. If that's what your passion, go for it and go after it. Have the grit and the courage and inspiration to serve the country in whichever way, and not let fear sort of dictate you, and still learn out of a very difficult situation, get inspired by it to even further your ambition in serving the nation and building yourself. It's really amazing. Thank you for joining us. It's just lovely to have you with us. And a big thank you from all of us at Bombay Chamber of Commerce, not just for joining this, but for leading Operation Ganga in the role that you did. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm again most honored to be a part of this such a noble initiative. Like, thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you, Meenakshi. Thank you, Mahashweta. I just want to pick one more thing. I think Meenakshi has captured the essence so well. I wish that this message goes out to all the youth of our country that you do not have to wear a uniform. That's not the only way to serve, and be conscious of your duty to the country. We live in uncertain times. There are pandemics, there are wars. There are so many ways to serve the country by being a good, responsible citizen, just doing your job well, doing your duty. And Mashweta, our very best wishes to you. May you continue to soar the skies and
Thank you
achieve
so much,
every
ma'am.
dream, every aspiration
Thank
you
you
have,
so much. Thank
and
you.
continue to take the road less taken and make that difference.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's my pleasure. It's completely my
Thank you.
pleasure.